How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, December 10th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and this is the Elite, and for this episode, I am going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Friday, December 9th, before I preview what's going on today. Before I do either, I'm going to take a quick step back and look at where we are in the calendar year. Taking a look first at where we are in the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, there are 6 teams left as we are in the midst of the quarterfinal round. 2 teams were eliminated yesterday, as 2 more will be eliminated by the end of today, leaving the 4 semifinal teams to face off against one another this weekend. Taking a look at what's going on with college sports, there was only one ranked basketball team that played yesterday. Going on to the professional level, there were some hockey performances, as there was a player who had 3 assists. And then in the NBA, there were a good amount of matchups to surround the 2 primetime games. With that said, taking a look first at what would happen in the quarterfinal round of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, the first game at 10 a.m. would be between Croatia and Brazil. Looking first at how these 2 teams would get here, Brazil would be the team that won their group. They won Group G, winning their group stage matchups against Switzerland and Serbia and losing to Cameroon. In the round of 16, Brazil would end up beating South Korea 4-1 with 4 goals scored in the first half to blow the game wide open. Looking at how Croatia would make it to this round, they would finish second in Group F to Monaco after not having lost in the group stage. They would draw against Belgium and Morocco but beat Canada. Once they made it to the round of 16, Croatia would end up winning their game versus Japan on penalty kicks. They won it 3-1 as they saved 3 of Japan's kicks. And here in the quarterfinal round, Croatia would end up beating Brazil, who came in as many people's favorites, on penalty kicks. Looking at how the game would fare, there was no scoring in the first 90 minutes of the game. The first goal would come from Brazil's elite forward Neymar, as he scored at the very end of the first half of extra time in the 105th minute, tying Pelé for the most international goals by a Brazilian. On the other end, Croatia would eventually even the game up with a goal from Bruno Petkovic in the 117th minute with about 3 minutes to spare. With this 1-1 tie, the game would go into penalty kicks. Brazil's Rodrigo would miss the first attempt, and then their 4th kicker was Marquinhos, as he would miss his attempt, as Croatia would make all 4 of theirs. Of course, their goalie in this matchup, Dominik Livakovic, surviving yet another penalty kick shootout in the World Cup. However, with this win, Croatia will advance to the semifinal round, where they will now face off against Argentina after Argentina was able to pick up their win against the Netherlands. That was the second game yesterday at 2 o'clock. Looking at how Argentina and the Netherlands would make the quarterfinals, Netherlands first would finish at the top of Group A with wins in their group over Senegal in the host nation Qatar, and their draw coming against Ecuador. In the round of 16, the Netherlands would beat the United States 3-1 off of Denzel Dumfries' 2 assists and 1 goal. Looking at how Argentina would make it to the quarterfinal round, they would finish top of Group C after losing their first game to Saudi Arabia. They would beat Poland and Mexico with their backs against the wall to make the round of 16. In the round of 16, Argentina would beat Australia 2-1 with goals from Lionel Messi and Julian Alvarez. Looking at how yesterday's game would fare, Argentina would get the early advantage on the Netherlands, scoring the first 2 goals. They would score the lone goal of the first half from Nahuel Molina in the 35th minute off of an amazing pass from Messi, if I'm not mistaken. The second goal of this particular matchup would be a goal from Lionel Messi in the 73rd minute. Once he scored that goal in the 73rd minute, everyone basically assumed that the game would be over because there was about 15 minutes left. However, the Dutch would end up tying the game in regulation. Their first goal would come from Wout Weghorst, their 6'5" sub, as he came in and scored in the 83rd minute. He would score again off of a set piece assist in the 90th minute, 11 minutes past, as his game tying goal would send the Netherlands into extra time. Neither team would score in extra time, as Denzel Dumfries would pick up a red card for the Netherlands at the end of the game. Once it would go to penalty shootouts, just like the Croatia-Brazil game, Argentina would be the team that finished on top. Netherlands' first two kickers, Virgil van Dijk and Steven Bergwijn, would not make their penalties. Argentina would make their first three, as their first would come from their goated forward, Lionel Messi. After Luuk de Jong would tie it up, and even Wout Weghorst would score a penalty kick, making it his third goal of the game. The game-winning goal and penalty kicks would come from Lautaro Martinez, Argentina's elite striker who currently plays for Inter Milan. With this win, Argentina will face off in the semifinal round against Croatia on Tuesday, December 13th. That is going to be a 2 o'clock matchup, and I will preview that round once we get there. Taking a look now at what's going on today for the last two matchups of this quarterfinal round. The first matchup will be at 10 a.m. as Morocco, the last African nation left, is set to face off against Portugal. Looking first at how Morocco would make it here, they would finish at the top of Group F over Croatia, who already made the semifinals. With their lone draw in this particular group stage coming against Croatia, they would beat Belgium and Canada to make it through. In the round of 16, Morocco would beat Spain after neither team would score in regulation. However, in the penalty kick round, Morocco's goalie Yassine Bounou would make sure that Spain's first three penalty kick takers would not make their penalties, as Morocco would advance 3-0 in the penalty round. Taking a look at how Portugal would make it to this round. Once they were in their group, they would finish at the top of Group H with wins over Uruguay and Ghana, and then a loss to South Korea. In the round of 16, Portugal would end up winning their game versus Switzerland 6-1. They would see goals from four different goal scorers, as they would see a hat trick from Gonzalo Ramos, the very first and so far only hat trick of the World Cup. They would see goals from Pepe, Rafael Guerrero, and Rafael Leao to finish it off. And looking at how Portugal is going to go in against Morocco, it looks like a very interesting matchup going forward. And of course, the winner of Morocco and Portugal will face off against the winner between England and France. England would make it to the quarterfinal round after initially finishing at the top of Group B, with a draw against the United States in wins versus Iran and Wales. In the round of 16, England would win their matchup against Senegal 3-0 with goals from Jordan Henderson, Harry Kane, and Bukayo Saka. Looking at how France would enter the quarterfinal round, the defending champions of the World Cup, the winners from 2018, the French team would win Group D, finishing over Australia, Tunisia, and Denmark, with their lone loss of the group coming against Tunisia. Once they made it to the round of 16, France would end up beating Poland 3-1 with a goal from Olivier Giroud to, of course, tie Thierry Henry for the most goals in French history, and they would see a brace from Kylian Mbappe before Robert Lewandowski scored what could be his very last FIFA World Cup goal of his career. So now France is going to play England, and the winner of France versus England will face off against the winner of Morocco versus Portugal, and the winner of that matchup in the semifinal will face off against the winner between Argentina and Croatia in the final next Saturday. So that's currently where we are in terms of the FIFA World Cup. Coming back to what's going on in the U.S., even though it's not a ranked game, the one football game today will be between Army and Navy. Army is 5-6 and Navy is 4-7 this year. Looking at what's going on with college basketball, the only ranked basketball team that played yesterday would be the 18th ranked Gonzaga Bulldogs. They would host unranked Washington, as Gonzaga would beat Washington by 17 at home. Now both teams are holding on to 7-3 records. Gonzaga will win this game 77-60 after outscoring Washington by 10 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 18th ranked Gonzaga Bulldogs were led in scoring by their starting forward out of Texas, Drew Timme. Their senior would finish with 22 points. He would also go along and finish with 7 rebounds and 4 steals in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field. Gonzaga's starting guard, Julian Strawther, had 18 points and 12 rebounds in 37 minutes. He shot 7 for 14 from the field as he made both of his free throws. With this win, the 18th ranked Gonzaga Bulldogs are 7-3. And with this loss, the unranked Washington Huskies are also 7-3 heading into today's games. Taking a look at what's going on today in college basketball, starting off at noon on Big Ten Network, 17th ranked Illinois is set to host unranked Penn State, as both teams are 0-1 in the Big Ten. At 12:30 on FS1, Fifth-ranked UConn, who is undefeated, is set to host unranked Long Island University. At 1 o'clock on Longhorn Network, second-ranked Texas is set to host the unranked Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions. This will be in the Jimmy Blacklock Classic. At the same time at 1, ninth-ranked Arkansas is set to host unranked Oklahoma on ESPN2. 16th-ranked Kentucky is also set to host unranked Yale on SEC Network at 1 o'clock. At 2:15, fourth-ranked Purdue will face off against unranked Nebraska at Nebraska, as Purdue is undefeated and holding on to a 1-0 Big Ten record. At 3 o'clock, it will be a top 10 matchup in Houston, as top-ranked Houston's going to host 8th-ranked Alabama. Houston is 9-0. Alabama is 7-1 entering this matchup. At 3 o'clock on Pac-12 Network, 19th-ranked UCLA is set to host unranked Denver in Pauley Pavilion, as UCLA is undefeated at home. At the same time, at 3, 22nd-ranked San Diego State is going to face off against unranked St. Mary's in Phoenix, Arizona. At 5 o'clock, 11th-ranked Auburn's going to go to Atlanta to face off against unranked Memphis at Holiday Hoopsgiving. At 5:15 on ESPN, the defending champs, the 6th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks, are going to face off against the undefeated Mizzou Tigers, who are unranked currently. At 5:30 on ACC Network, my 15th-ranked Duke Blue Devils are set to host unranked Maryland Eastern Shore, as Duke looks to pick up his 10th win of the year. At 7:30 on Fox, 14th-ranked Indiana is set to host 10th-ranked Arizona at the Las Vegas Clash. At 10 o'clock on FS1, 21st-ranked Creighton is going to go to Las Vegas to face off against unranked BYU. And then last but not least, at 10 o'clock yet again on ESPN2, 24th-ranked TCU is set to face off against unranked SMU in Fort Worth, Texas. There's a lot of college basketball today because today is a Saturday. Taking a look at what's going on at the professional levels in the NHL, the Buffalo Sabres would host the Pittsburgh Penguins. In a game that would go all the way to overtime, the Penguins would go on and beat the Sabres 4-3. It would be the Sabres who forced overtime with Kyle Okposo's second goal of the season. However, Jeff Carter's fourth play of the season in overtime for the Penguins on a power play would get them through and give them the win. Jeff Carter, Pittsburgh's center out of London, Ontario, would be the top stars. He had that one goal of the game. Buffalo's center, Casey Mittelstadt, would finish with assists on all 3 of the Buffalo goals. He had the second star. Pittsburgh's right winger, Ricard Raquel, finished with a goal and an assist, as he had the third star of the game. With this overtime win on the road, the Pittsburgh Penguins are holding on to a 15-8-4 record. As of right now, their 34 points in 27 games ties them with the New York Islanders and the Carolina Hurricanes for the second best record in the Metropolitan Division. The Penguins are sitting 9 points behind the division-leading New Jersey Devils. The Penguins are currently on a 4-game winning streak. Their 4-game winning streak is the longest active winning streak in the Eastern Conference. It is currently tied with the Winnipeg Jets for the longest active winning streak in the NHL right now. Alongside their winning streak, the Penguins have won 8 of their last 10 games. And with this overtime loss, the Buffalo Sabres are 12-13-2. Their 26 points through 27 games is the second worst record in the Atlantic Division. They are currently sitting 17 points behind the division-leading Boston Bruins. However, with this loss, they've lost 5 of their last 10. 2 of those 5 losses would come in overtime or later. Jumping out to Columbus, the Blue Jackets would host the Calgary Flames. The Blue Jackets would enter this game with the worst record in the East. They would win the game, but they still hold the worst record in the East after they beat the Flames 3-1 at home. They would score a goal in every single period to take full advantage. The top star of this game would be Columbus's left winger out of Finland, Patrick Laney. He would finish with a goal, and then Columbus's goalie, Elvis Merzlikins out of Latvia, would finish with the third star. He would allow 1 goal from Calgary as he had 19 saves. With this win, the Columbus Blue Jackets are 9-15-2. Their 20 points through 26 games is the worst standing in the Eastern Conference. In the Metropolitan Division, they are sitting 13 points behind the division-leading New Jersey Devils. As of right now, only the Chicago Blackhawks and the Anaheim Ducks out west have worse records than the Blue Jackets in the entire NHL. And with this win, the Blue Jackets have won 3 of their last 10 games. With this loss, the Calgary Flames are currently holding on to a record of 13, 11, and 3. As of right now, their 29 points through 27 games is the fifth best record in the Pacific Division. They are currently sitting 12 points behind the division-leading Vegas Golden Knights. The Flames have lost 5 of their last 10 games to date. Jumping out to New Jersey, the division-leading Devils would host the New York Islanders. The Islanders would beat the Devils 6-4, as they would score 3 goals as a team in the second period. New Jersey was unable to really tie the game up after New York took full advantage in the first period off of Anders Lee's 9th goal of the season to end the period, as New York would score 4 unanswered to start their scoring. The top star of the game would go to the Islanders center out of Minnesota, Brock Nelson. He had 2 goals on the day. The second star would go to the Islanders center, Matthew Barzal out of Canada, as he had 2 assists. With this road win, the New York Islanders are currently holding on to an NHL record of 17, 11, and 0. As of right now, their 34 points through 28 games ties them with the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Carolina Hurricanes for the second best record in the Metropolitan Division, considering they're the only team in the East who still has yet to lose in overtime. Right now, they sit 9 points behind the division-leading Devils, and they have won 6 of their last 10 games. With this loss, the New Jersey Devils are 21-5-1. Their 43 points through 27 games ties them with the Boston Bruins for the best record in the East, even though the Devils have 1 more game played than the Bruins. Their 43 points also sits them 2 points ahead of the Western Conference leading Vegas Golden Knights. With this loss, the Devils have lost 3 of their last 10 games to date. Taking a look at what would happen in this nation's capital, the Washington Capitals would host the Seattle Kraken. The Capitals would beat the Kraken 4-1. The Kraken would score the first goal of the game, as the Capitals would score 2 goals in the second and third to take full advantage. The Capitals would take the outright lead off of Marcus Johansson's 6th goal of the season off of a power play. The top star of this game would be Washington's goalie Charlie Lindgren out of Minnesota. He would allow 1 goal from Seattle, as he had 25 saves on the day. With the top star and this win, the Washington Capitals are now holding on to an NHL record of 13, 12, and 4. Their 30 points through 29 games is the 3rd worst record in the Metropolitan Division. They are sitting 13 points behind the division-leading New Jersey Devils. They're on a 3-game winning streak, and they've now won 6 of their last 10 games to date. Only the Pittsburgh Penguins have a longer active winning streak in the East than the Washington Capitals do. With this loss, the Seattle Kraken are 15, 8, and 3. Their 33 points through 26 games is the second best standing in the Pacific, as they sit 8 points behind the division-leading Vegas Golden Knights. With this loss, the Seattle Kraken are holding on to a 3-game losing streak. Only the defending champs Colorado Avalanche have a longer active losing streak in the West than the Kraken do. And with their 3 losses, they've lost 3 of their last 10 games as well. Taking a look at what would happen in Chicago, the Blackhawks would host the division-leading Winnipeg Jets. The Jets would end up beating the Blackhawks, as the Blackhawks still remain at the bottom of their division. The Jets won this game 3-1. The Blackhawks were unable to tie this game up at all, and the top star would go to Winnipeg's defender out of Calgary, Josh Morrissey. He would finish with 2 assists, and with this road win in Chicago, the Winnipeg Jets are holding on to an 18-7-1 record. Their 37 points in 26 games is the best record in the Central Division. They are sitting 2 points ahead of the second-place Dallas Stars. They sit 4 games behind the Western Conference leading Golden Knights, who lead the Pacific Division. Right now, the Winnipeg Jets are holding on to a 4-game winning streak. They're holding on to the longest active winning streak in the West. It is tied with the Pittsburgh Penguins for the longest active winning streak in the NHL. The Jets have won 8 of their last 10 games so far. And with this loss, the Chicago Blackhawks are 7, 15, and 4. Their 18 points in 26 games is the worst record in the Central Division. Only the Anaheim Ducks have a worse record than them in the Western Conference. In the Central Division, they are sitting 19 points behind the division-leading Winnipeg Jets. As with this loss, the Blackhawks are on a 3-game losing streak. Only the defending champs Colorado Avalanche have a longer losing streak in the West. The Blackhawks have lost 9 of their last 10 games to date. Jumping out to Denver, the defending Stanley Cup champs Colorado Avalanche would host the New York Rangers. The Rangers would end up beating the Avalanche in a shootout after their game-winning goal would come from Artemi Panarin after Mika Zibanejad would score the first shootout goal. Zibanejad would be the top star of the game for New York. The second star would be New York's goalie Igor Shesterkin. He had 41 saves, allowing 1 goal in regulation and in overtime. Alexander Georgiev, Colorado's goalie, would finish with 28 saves. As with this overtime win, the New York Rangers are currently holding on to an NHL record of 14-10-5. Their 33 points through 29 games is currently the 5th best record in the Metropolitan Division. They sit 10 points behind the division-leading New Jersey Devils. They are currently on a 3-game winning streak. Only the Pittsburgh Penguins have a longer active winning streak in the East. The Rangers have won 5 of their last 10 games to date. With this shootout loss, the defending champs Colorado Avalanche are 13-10-2. Their 28 points through 25 games is tied with the Minnesota Wild for the 3rd best record in the Central Division. The Avalanche are currently sitting 9 points behind the division-leading Winnipeg Jets. As of right now, their 4-game losing streak is the longest active losing streak in the entire NHL. Alongside the Avalanche's 4-game losing streak, they've lost 6 of their last 10 games to date. Taking a look at what's going on in Edmonton, the Oilers would host the Minnesota Wild. The Edmonton Oilers would end up beating the Wild 5-2 at home. In this matchup, the Oilers would score the first 2 goals of this game. After Minnesota would tie it up at 2-2, the Edmonton Oilers would take full advantage, taking the outright lead off of Kailer Yamamoto's first goal of the season. Kailer Yamamoto would be the 3rd star of the game. The 2nd star would be Edmonton center Ryan Nugent-Hopkins out of British Columbia. Their center would finish with a goal and 2 assists. Edmonton's goalie Stuart Skinner would allow 2 goals, but he got the top star of the game with 42 saves at home. With this win, the Edmonton Oilers are now holding on to a record of 16-12-0. The Oilers are currently holding on to 32 points in 28 games. That ties them with the Los Angeles Kings for the 3rd best record in the Pacific Division. The Oilers are sitting 9 points behind the division-leading Vegas Golden Knights. With this win, the Edmonton Oilers are on a 2-game winning streak, and they've now won 6 of their last 10 games. With this road loss, the Minnesota Wild are 13-11-2. Their 28 points through 26 games is tied with the defending champs Colorado Avalanche for the 3rd best record in the Central Division. The Wild are currently sitting 9 points behind the Jets, who are leading that division. As with this loss, the Wild are on a 2-game losing streak, and they've lost 4 of their last 10 games to date. Jumping out to Phoenix, the Arizona Coyotes would host the Atlantic Division leading Boston Bruins. The Coyotes would beat the Bruins 4-3. In this matchup, the go-ahead goal in the 3rd period with 15 seconds left would come from Lawson Krause, as his goal would give the Coyotes the win over a very formidable Boston Bruins team. Arizona's left winger out of Mount Bridges, Ontario, Lawson Krause, would be the top star of the game, as he had 2 goals and an assist. The 2nd star will go to Arizona's goalie out of the Czech Republic, Karel Vejmelka. He would allow 3 goals on the day. However, he would have 43 saves to help the Coyotes win at home. And then Arizona's defender, Shane Gottis-Behir, would finish with 2 assists. With this home win, the Arizona Coyotes are now holding on to an NHL record of 8-13-4. Their 20 points through 25 games is the 2nd worst record in the Central Division. They are sitting 17 points behind the division-leading Winnipeg Jets. The Coyotes have won 2 of their last 10 games to date. With this loss, the Boston Bruins are 21-4-1. Their 43 points in 26 games is tied with the New Jersey Devils for the best outright record in the NHL, let alone the East, and they have the best record in the Atlantic Division. In the Atlantic Division, they have 3 more points than the second place Toronto Maple Leafs. And in terms of looking at where they are compared to the Western Conference leading Golden Knights, the Boston Bruins still sit 2 points ahead of them. The Bruins have lost 3 of their last 10 games to date, losing this one to Arizona. Taking a look at what would happen not far from Disneyland, the Anaheim Ducks would host the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks would beat the Ducks 6-1, as the Ducks would come in with the league's worst record and would leave with the league's worst record. The Sharks would beat the Ducks 6-1 on the road after scoring 3 goals as a unit in the second period. The top star of this game would go to San Jose's defender out of Sweden, Erik Karlsson. He had a goal and an assist. San Jose's right winger, Timo Meier, out of Switzerland, would finish with a goal and an assist for himself. The third star of this game would go to San Jose's goalie, Eetu Makiniemi, out of Finland. Although he did allow 1 goal to Anaheim, he would finish with 23 saves. With this road win, the San Jose Sharks are holding on to an NHL record of 9-16-5. Their 23 points through 30 games is the second worst record in the Pacific Division. They sit 18 points behind the division-leading Vegas Golden Knights. However, the Sharks have won 3 of their last 10 games so far. With this loss, the Anaheim Ducks are 7-18-3. Their 17 points through 28 games is the worst record in the entire NHL. In their Pacific Division, they are sitting 24 points behind the division-leading Vegas Golden Knights. As of right now, the Ducks have lost 8 of their last 10 games. Jumping out to Las Vegas, the Vegas Golden Knights would host the Philadelphia Flyers. In a game that will go to overtime, the Golden Knights would beat the Flyers 2-1 in overtime. The game-winning goal will come from Jonathan Marchessault. It will be his 12th of the season. With his goalie would be the top star, and then Vegas's goalie, Adin Hill, out of Calgary, would be the third star of the game. With this home win, the Vegas Golden Knights are holding on to an NHL record of 28-1. They are the first team in the Western Conference to eclipse 20 wins. They are the third team in the NHL to do so, behind the Boston Bruins and the NHL Devils. As a result, the Golden Knights have the best record in the West. In the Pacific Division, they sit 8 points ahead of the second-place Seattle Kraken. In terms of the West, they sit 4 points ahead of the Central Division leading Winnipeg Jets. The Golden Knights have won 6 of their last 10 games to date, and on the losing end of this matchup with this overtime loss, the Philadelphia Flyers are 9-13-6. Their 6 overtime losses ties them with Carolina for the most overtime losses in the Eastern Conference, and the most overtime losses in the NHL for that matter. With their overtime loss, the Flyers are holding on to 24 points in 28 games. That is the second worst record in the Metropolitan Division. They're on a 2-game losing streak, as they've now lost 8 of their last 10 games to date. Taking a look now at what's going on today in the NHL, it will start early, as the first primetime game will be at 2 o'clock, as the 15-7-5 Dallas Stars, who lead the Central Division, are set to host the Detroit Red Wings, who hold the 4th best record in the Atlantic Division. After that, or I guess that's the only primetime game before 7, and then at 7, the Montreal Canadiens, who are holding on to the 3rd worst record in the Atlantic Division, are set to host the LA Kings, who hold the 4th best, or tied with the Oilers for the 3rd best record in the Pacific Division. Outside of the primetime games, at 1:30, the Nashville Predators are set to host the Ottawa Senators, who hold the worst record in the Atlantic Division. At 4:30, the defending back-to-back-to-back Eastern Conference champs, Tampa Bay Lightning, are set to host the Florida Panthers from within their state. At 7 o'clock, the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are holding on to the longest active streak in the NHL, are set to host the Buffalo Sabres. At 7 o'clock, the Toronto Maple Leafs, who hold the 2nd best record in the Atlantic and are only 3 points behind the Bruins, are set to host the Calgary Flames. At 7:30, the New York Islanders are going to host the Carolina Hurricanes. And then at 10, the Vancouver Canucks are set to host the Minnesota Wild. Taking a look at what's going on in the NBA now, starting off in Charlotte, the Hornets would host the New York Knicks. The Knicks would end up beating the Hornets by 19 on the road. They would win it 121 to 102. They won it by 19 after they would outscore the Hornets by 12 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Charlotte Hornets would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard Terry Rozier. He had 24 points and 6 rebounds in 32 minutes. He shot 10 for 19 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the free throw line. Charlotte starting shooting guard Kelly Oubre Jr. would finish with 22 points and 2 steals as well in the 37 minutes he played. He shot 8 for 20 from the field and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the visiting New York Knicks were led in scoring by their starting power forward out of Kentucky, Julius Randle. He had 33 points and 7 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 9 for 21 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and 11 for 14 from the foul line. The Knicks starting shooting guard out of Duke, RJ Barrett, had 26 points and 7 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 9 for 18 from the field and 7 for 8 from the free throw line. Their starting point guard Jalen Brunson finished with 11 points and 11 assists in 27 minutes. He shot 3 for 13 from the field as he made all 4 of his free throw attempts on the day. With this road win, the New York Knicks are holding on to a 13-13 record. As of right now, the New York Knicks are tied with the Atlanta Hawks and the Toronto Raptors for the 7th best record in the East, sitting at 500. The Knicks are sitting 8 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics. They are currently on a 3-game winning streak right now. They are tied with the Boston Celtics for the longest active winning streak in the Eastern Conference. The Pelicans and the Grizzlies are the 2 teams in the NBA with longer active winning streaks than the Knicks right now. The Knicks have won 5 of their last 10 games to date, and with this loss, the Charlotte Hornets are 7-19. That is the 3rd worst record in the Eastern Conference as they sit 14 games behind the Western Conference leading Boston Celtics. The Hornets are on a 4-game losing streak. Only the Washington Wizards have a longer active losing streak in the East, and the Hornets have lost 7 of their last 10 games so far. Jumping out to Indianapolis, the Indiana Pacers would host the Washington Wizards. The Pacers would beat the Wizards by 10 to extend the Wizards' losing streak to 5, as the Wizards are now holding the longest active losing streak in the NBA. The Pacers won this game 121-11 by 10 at home after outscoring the Wizards by 6 in the second quarter and in the second half each. On the losing end of this matchup, the visiting Washington Wizards were led in scoring by their starting center, Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis finished with 29 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 steals in 35 minutes. He shot 11 for 13 from the field. He would shoot 1 for 2 from 3 and 6 for 8 from the free throw line. Washington starting small forward, Kyle Kuzma, finished with 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists, all in 36 minutes. Kuzma would shoot 9 for 20 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Indiana Pacers were led out by their starting shooting guard, Buddy Hield. Hield had 28 points and 3 steals in 35 minutes. He shot 12 for 19 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3 as well. Indiana starting point guard Tyrese Halliburton would finish with 23 points and 11 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 9 for 14 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3. He would make both of his free throw attempts on the night. With this win, the Indiana Pacers are holding on to a record of 14-12. The Pacers are currently holding on to the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference as they sit 7 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics. The Pacers have won 4 of their last 10 games to date. With this loss, the Washington Wizards are 11-15. That is the 5th worst record in the Eastern Conference. They are sitting 10 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics. Their 5-game losing streak is the longest active losing streak in the NBA at this moment. The Wizards have lost 8 of their last 10 games to date. Jumping out to Orlando, the Magic would host the Toronto Raptors. Orlando would win this game by 4 at home after they would outscore the Raptors by 12 in the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the visiting Raptors were led in scoring by their starting power forward and former NBA Most Improved Player Pascal Siakam. He finished with 36 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 13 for 27 from the field and 8 for 9 from the free throw line. Toronto's shooting guard off the bench, Gary Trent Jr., had 20 points and 2 steals in 35 minutes. He shot 8 for 16 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3 as well. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Orlando Magic were led in scoring by their starting small forward out of Michigan, Franz Wagner. Wagner had 34 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals in 33 minutes. He would shoot 12 for 15 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and he would make all 8 of his free throw attempts. Orlando's number 1 overall pick from this year out of Duke, Paolo Banchero, had 23 points and 6 rebounds in 38 minutes. He would shoot 8 for 11 from the field as he shot 6 for 7 from the free throw line. With this home win, the Orlando Magic are 7-20. They're holding on to the second worst record in the Eastern Conference as they now sit 14.5 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics. As of right now, the Magic are on a 2-game winning streak as they've won 2 of their last 10 games to date. And with this loss, the Toronto Raptors are 13-13. They are tied with the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks for the 7th best record in the East. The Raptors are sitting 8 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics, and the Raptors have lost 6 of their last 10 games to date. Moving out to Brooklyn, the Nets would host the Atlanta Hawks, and the Nets would beat the Hawks 120-116 to give the Hawks their 3rd straight loss. And on the looking at how the Nets would win by 4, they would outscore the Hawks by 6 in the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the visiting Atlanta Hawks would be led in scoring by their elite starting point guard out of Oklahoma, Trae Young. Trae Young would finish with 33 points, 9 assists, 3 steals, and 8 turnovers in 37 minutes. He would shoot 12 for 25 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3. He would make all 7 of his free throw attempts on the day. Their shooting guard off the bench, Bogdan Bogdanovic, had 31 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists, all in 34 minutes. He shot 12 for 18 from the field and 7 for 9 from 3, coming off the bench, might I remind you. Atlanta starting center, Clint Capella, finished with 15 points and 11 rebounds in 29 minutes. He shot 6 for 11 from the field and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Brooklyn Nets were led in scoring by their goated starting power forward and future Hall of Famer Kevin Durant. Durant had 34 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks in 36 minutes. The former NBA MVP would shoot 14 for 25 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, and he would make all 4 of his free throw attempts. Alongside him, the Nets' elite starting point guard and former NBA champion Kyrie Irving would finish with 33 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and 6 turnovers in 39 minutes. He shot 11 for 21 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3. He would make all 6 of his free throw attempts. Brooklyn's elite starting point guard out of LSU, Ben Simmons, would finish with 6 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4 steals in 21 minutes. He shot 3 for 4 from the field. With this win at home, the Brooklyn Nets are holding on to a 15-12 record. They are holding on to the 4th best record in the East currently, as the Nets sit 6.5 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics. The Nets have won their last 2 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10 games to date. With this loss, the Atlanta Hawks are 13-13. They are tied with the New York Knicks and the Toronto Raptors for the 7th best record in the East, sitting at 500. The Hawks are on a 3-game losing streak right now. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games to date. Jumping out to Cleveland, Ohio, the Cavaliers would host the Sacramento Kings from out west. The Kings would beat the Cavaliers by 11 on the road. They won it 106-95. They would outscore the Cavaliers by 12 in the fourth quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Cleveland Cavaliers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Michigan, Caris LeVert. He had 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 9 for 21 from the field. He would go on and make both of his free throws as well. On the winning end of this matchup, the visiting Sacramento Kings would be led in scoring by their starting small forward out of UNC, Harrison Barnes. He had 20 points in 36 minutes. He shot 5 for 9 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 7 for 10 from the free throw line. The Kings starting power forward, Domantas Sabonis, had 18 points, 18 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks in 37 minutes. He shot 5 for 12 from the field. With this win, the Sacramento Kings are 14-10. They are holding on to the 5th best record in the Western Conference. They are sitting 2.5 games behind the Western Conference leading New Orleans Pelicans. The Kings have won 6 of their last 10 games so far. And with this loss, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 16-10. That is the 3rd best record in the Eastern Conference. They sit 5 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Celtics and Bucks, as those are the last 2 teams in the East with a single-digit amount of losses. With this loss, the Cavaliers have lost 4 of their last 10 games to date. Jumping out to Philadelphia to a primetime game, the Sixers would host the LA Lakers. The Philadelphia 76ers would take the Lakers into overtime and beat the Lakers 133-122 after outscoring the Lakers 13-2 in the overtime period. On the losing end of this matchup, the visiting LA Lakers were led in scoring by their elite starting power forward out of Kentucky, Anthony Davis. Davis had 31 points, 12 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks as he nearly fouled out in 36 minutes. Anthony Davis would shoot 9 for 13 from the field and 13 for 14 from the free throw line. Off the bench, LA's shooting guard Austin Reeves out of Oklahoma would finish with 25 points. He would also have 5 assists as he nearly fouled out in 41 minutes. Austin Reeves would shoot 9 for 15 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3. He would shoot 3 for 4 from the free throw line. LA's goated starting small forward, the NBA's active scoring leader LeBron James, would finish with 23 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 44 minutes. He shot 9 for 22 from the field, 1 for 8 from 3, and 4 for 8 from the free throw line. Off the bench, the Lakers' goated point guard Russell Westbrook out of UCLA would finish with yet another triple-double to add to the NBA's all-time lead. The former NBA MVP would finish with 12 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, 4 steals as well in 36 minutes. He shot 4 for 14 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Philadelphia 76ers were led in scoring by their elite Cameroonian center Joel Embiid. Embiid would finish with 38 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists, as well as 7 turnovers in 46 minutes. Embiid would shoot 14 for 19 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the free throw line. The Sixers starting shooting guard DeAnthony Melton had 33 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 7 steals in 43 minutes. He shot 11 for 16 from the field, 8 for 12 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. The Sixers elite starting shooting guard and former NBA MVP James Harden would finish with 28 points, 4 rebounds, 12 assists, and 2 steals, as well as 5 turnovers in the 47 minutes he played. He would shoot 9 for 19 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3. He would shoot 7 for 8 from the free throw line. With this win, the Philadelphia 76ers are now 13-12. They're holding on to the 6th best record in the East. They sit 7.5 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics. They've now won 5 of their last 10 games. With this overtime loss, the LA Lakers are 10-15. The Lakers currently hold the 3rd worst record in the Western Conference. They sit 7 games behind the conference leading New Orleans Pelicans. The Lakers are on a 3-game losing streak at the moment. They are tied with the Phoenix Suns for the longest active losing streak in the West. The Charlotte Hornets the Charlotte Hornets and the Washington Wizards are the 2 teams in the NBA with longer active losing streaks than the Lakers. The Lakers have lost 5 of their last 10 games to date. Jumping out to Memphis, Tennessee, on the Mississippi River, the Grizzlies would host the Detroit Pistons, and the Grizzlies would beat the Pistons 114-103. The Pistons won this game by 11 after they would outscore the Pistons by 12 in the 3rd quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the visiting Pistons were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Bojan Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic had 19 points in 22 minutes. He shot 6 for 15 from the field as he made all 5 of his free throws. Detroit's starting center, Jalen Duren, finished with 10 points and 12 rebounds in 28 minutes. He shot 5 for 7 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Memphis Grizzlies were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Jaren Jackson Jr. He had 20 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and 4 blocks in 30 minutes. He shot 8 for 12 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3 as well. The Grizzlies' elite starting point guard, Ja Morant, would finish with 15 points, 6 rebounds, 12 assists, and 3 steals, all in 33 minutes. He shot 6 for 20 from the field and 3 for 5 from the free throw line. With this win, the Grizzlies are 17-9. They're holding on to the second best record in the West. They sit half a game behind the conference leading New Orleans Pelicans. The Grizzlies are holding on to a 5-game winning streak. Only the New Orleans Pelicans have a longer active winning streak in the West. Alongside their 5-game winning streak, the Grizzlies have won 7 of their last 10 games. With this loss, the Detroit Pistons are 7-21. That is the worst record in the Eastern Conference, and record-wise, it is the worst record in the entire NBA. Their 21 losses lead the NBA with the most in the league right now. They sit 15 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics. The Pistons are on a 2-game losing streak as they've lost 6 of their last 10 games. Jumping out to New Orleans, the Pelicans would host the Phoenix Suns, and the Pelicans would come into this game with the best record in the West. They would beat the Suns by 11 at home to extend their winning streak to 6, and of course they would end it with an emphatic 360 windmill jam from Zion Williamson in garbage time, which of course would spark some scuffles on the bench. On the losing end of this matchup, the Phoenix Suns would be led in scoring by their starting center, DeAndre Ayton, out of Arizona. He had 25 points, 14 rebounds as well in 40 minutes. He shot 11 for 15 from the field and 3 for 5 from the free throw line. The Suns' elite starting point guard and the NBA's active leader in assists, Chris Paul, would finish with 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists in 34 minutes. The future Hall of Famer shot 7 for 14 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, as he would make all 4 of his free throw attempts. On the winning, staying within the Suns starting lineup, their elite starting shooting guard out of Kentucky, Devin Booker, had 14 points, 2 rebounds, and 7 assists in 36 minutes. Booker shot 5 for 17 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3, and 2 for 4 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown New Orleans Pelicans on the Bayou were led in scoring by their elite starting power forward and former number 1 overall pick out of Duke. Zion Williamson finished with 35 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 13 for 17 from the field and 9 for 12 from the free throw line. The Pelicans starting center, Jonas Valanciunas, finished with 12 points and 10 rebounds in 28 minutes. He shot 4 for 16 from the field, and he would make all 4 of his free throws. Off the bench, the Pelicans point guard out of Georgia Tech, Jose Alvarado, would finish with 20 points and he would have 3 steals on the day in 25 minutes. Jose Alvarado would shoot 6 for 10 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the free throw line. With this win, the New Orleans Pelicans are holding on to a 17-8 record. That is the best record outright in the Western Conference. Right now, the Celtics and the Bucks out east have better records than they do, but currently in the West, the Pelicans are sitting half a game over the second-place Memphis Grizzlies. The Pelicans are holding on to a 6-game winning streak, which currently is the longest active winning streak in the NBA. They've won 8 of their last 10 games to date, and they are currently one of 4 teams left in the NBA with a single-digit amount of losses. Now, with this loss, the Phoenix Suns are 16-10 as they are no longer one of the teams with a single-digit amount of losses. The Suns are holding on to the 3rd best record in the West. They sit a game and a half behind the Western Conference leading New Orleans Pelicans. The Suns are currently on a 3-game losing streak, tied with the Lakers for the longest active losing streak in the West. The Washington Wizards and the Charlotte Hornets are the 2 teams in the NBA with longer losing streaks than the Suns. The Suns have lost 4 of their last 10 games to date. Jumping out to Salt Lake City, the Utah Jazz would host the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Wolves would beat the Jazz by 10 on the road. They won at 118-108. They would outscore the Jazz by 12 in the second quarter and then by 7 in the fourth quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Utah Jazz would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard Malik Beasley out of Florida State. He had 23 points and 2 steals in 36 minutes. He shot 9 for 18 from the field and 5 for 12 from 3. Utah starting point guard Jordan Clarkson had 21 points and 5 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 20 from the field and 5 for 7 from the free throw line. Off the bench, the Jazz power forward Jared Vanderbilt out of Kentucky had 12 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 steals in 27 minutes. He shot 4 for 8 from the field and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the visiting Timberwolves were led in scoring by their starting point guard D'Angelo Russell. He had 30 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists in 36 minutes. He shot 12 for 16 from the field and 6 for 9 from 3. The Timberwolves' elite starting center out of France, Rudy Gobert, had 22 points and 13 rebounds in 37 minutes. He shot 8 for 11 from the field, and he would shoot 6 for 10 from the free throw line. Kyle Anderson, the Timberwolves starting small forward out of UCLA, had 15 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists, and 2 steals in 35 minutes. He shot 4 for 5 from the field and 7 for 9 from the free throw line. The Timberwolves' elite starting shooting guard and former number 1 overall pick out of Georgia, Anthony Edwards, had 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 steals in 34 minutes. He would shoot 3 for 14 from the field. He would shoot 2 for 6 from 3, and he would make all 6 of his free throw attempts on the day. Last but not least, jumping out to the other primetime game as the Dallas Mavericks would host the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks would end up beating the Mavericks 106-105 as the Bucks still hold on to the second best record in the NBA. The Bucks would win this game by 1 after they outscored the Mavericks by 12 in the fourth quarter to overcome their deficit to win. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Dallas Mavericks would be led in scoring by their elite starting guard out of Slovenia, Luka Doncic. He had 33 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists, and 2 steals in 37 minutes. He shot 13 for 28 from the field, 3 for 11 from 3. He would make 4 of his 10 free throws in a 1-point game. On the winning end of this matchup, the visiting Milwaukee Bucks would be led in scoring by their elite starting power forward out of Greece, Giannis Antetokounmpo. The former back-to-back NBA MVP would finish with 28 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 turnovers as well as he fouled out in 35 minutes. Giannis would shoot 10 for 20 from the field. He would make his only 3-point attempt as he shot 7 for 10 from the free throw line. With this road win, the Milwaukee Bucks are holding on to a 19-6 record. Right now, they hold on to the second best record in the East as they sit a game and a half behind the Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics. The Bucks' 4-game winning streak is the longest active winning streak in the East. The Grizzlies and the Pelicans out west have longer winning streaks. The Bucks have won 8 of their last 10 games to date, and with this loss, the Dallas Mavericks are 13-12. They are tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Portland Trail Blazers for the 7th best record in the West, as they now sit 4 games behind the Western Conference leading New Orleans Pelicans. As of right now, the Mavericks have lost 6 of their last 10 games to date, as one more loss would put them at 500. But that brings us to where we are today. Taking a look at what's going on today in Saturday's lineup of games, the primetime game will be on ABC as the defending champs, 13-13 Golden State Warriors, who are holding on to the 5th worst record in the West, are set to host the 21-5 Boston Celtics, who hold the best record in the NBA. There's only 4 teams left with a single-digit amount of wins, and the Celtics have 5 of them. They're halfway to double-digit losses. Outside of the primetime games, at 5 o'clock, the Miami Heat are going to host the San Antonio Spurs, who are holding the worst record in the West combined with the Rockets. At 7, the Pacers are going to host the Brooklyn Nets, as the Nets have been surging as of late. At 7 o'clock, the Washington Wizards, who are holding the longest active winning streak in the league, are set to host the LA Clippers. At 7:30, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to host the OKC Thunder. At 8 o'clock, the 10-14 Chicago Bulls are going to host the Dallas Mavericks. At 9, the Denver Nuggets are going to host the Utah Jazz, as both of these teams have 15 wins. And then at 10, the Trailblazers are going to host the Timberwolves, as both of these teams are 13-12. I do want to thank the ESPN, the FIFA, NCAA, NFL, NHL, and NBA sites for giving me all that they could with this episode. And I do want to thank everyone for listening to this piece. I do hope all is well. I'm James Sims, and this is The Elite. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you with more tomorrow. Peace out.